to After Dark with Rob and Andrew on the MAGA Media YouTube channel, as well as on YouTube. As well as on Facebook, After Dark's YouTube channel. Sorry, my brain's not working right now, apparently. Just had a nice 4th of July holiday here in Illinois. The fireworks were aplenty. A lot of people were breaking those fireworks laws here in Illinois this week because there were a lot of big fireworks all over my house throughout the weekend. I lit some off. There was some bottle rockets I lit off. I lit off a bottle rocket, and this baby went streaming into my neighbor's yard and exploded. It looked like it almost set a fire. I was like, uh-oh, better not light any more of those off. So that was it for those particular bottle rockets. But overall, it was a great day. How was your 4th of July, Rob?
It was good. I'm glad to be able to celebrate America's birthday. Unlike some who are kicking back and saying, oh, no, this wasn't for us. It wasn't, when I say for us, for blacks. What other day is it for us? Just like it's your country, Andrew. It's my country just like it's everyone else's country. And we have been fighting about that for God knows how long. Why can't we just accept the fact that this is our country? Yes, people came here, they conquered, they did this, and they killed people, but that happened everywhere. Look at the Moors. Look at what the Moors did overseas, in Europe, and Asia. America's no different. So this is my country. I was born here. I know nothing about Africa. America is my country, and I love America, and it is the greatest country in the world, and that is the reason why we have so many people storming our southern border trying to get here. So many people coming from overseas trying to get here because they want part of the American dream. And for all of you like Cori Bush, Maxine Waters, Don Lemon, Joy Reid, who are saying, oh, no, this country's mean, has done nothing for us, it's systemic racism, suck it up. Leave the country. We don't want you here. Gwen Berry, if you're so embarrassed and feel so offended by the national anthem, leave. We don't want to force you to stay here. But here's the thing. What country will allow them to come in? Africa sure doesn't want Gwen Berry. They'll probably look at her and go, you don't belong here. China sure as hell is not going to accept her there. Haiti, maybe. But so where will she go? So while she's turning her back on the national anthem, just for, to get clicks, just like Colin Kaepernick, she wants some big deal with some sports company. I don't buy into it. Not at all. Andrew, what did Maxine say the other day about this country when Cori Bush came out and said that our ancestors were enslaved when they came up with the Constitution and this and that? Oh, yeah, whatever. Read your history, lady. 13th Amendment freed the slaves. Okay, yeah. What does she say?
Maxine Waters tweeted on the 4th of July, July 4th and the Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal. Equal to what? What men? Only white men? Isn't it something that they wrote this in 1776 when African Americans were enslaved? They weren't thinking about us then, but were thinking about us now. And then she further went on and said, the Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident, yet 17 states have enacted voter suppression laws. Supreme Court gutted Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, and George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, and Tamir Rice have all been murdered. Need I say more? Hashtag 4th of July. That's where Maxine Waters' head is at. Completely un-American, just a disgrace. And like we were saying, we would love to see Joe Collins beat her in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we want Joe Collins to beat her because she needs to be defeated. She's been in office for almost 3 decades and has done absolutely nothing but change the style of her wig. She's done absolutely nothing but insurrected a lot of chaos by telling people to go and surround patriots and tell them that you're not welcome, you're not wanted here. Now, where did I hear that from? She was saying that conservatives were saying that to the left. I don't think so. And I want to just say this also. All of these instances that we're seeing on the news of, people saying anti-Semitic things or being white supremacists, like the other day, there was a sheriff somewhere who put a KKK sign on a fellow police officer's desk. If you were to check the records, I bet you anything that sheriff voted Democrat. And the same thing with the blacks that are taking Asians here in New York and around the country. I bet they all voted Democrat unless they couldn't vote because they have a felony. So all this hoopla and like, oh my God, the right, they're bad and they're doing this. No, no, no. When you look at who committed the offenses, a majority of them voted Democrat. Just like the Democrats who created Jim Crow laws. And now they want to say it's Republicans, just like the Democrats who said to defund the police. And now they want to say, no, we think it was the Republicans who said that. No, Republicans, you better push back and you better push back hard. Don't allow that lie to perpetrate. The Democrats pushed defund the police during the spring and summer of 2020, where there was an insurrection taking place all around the country. In Minneapolis, Oregon, Seattle, New York City, burning down state and federal buildings. Remember the police department that was burned down at Minneapolis, and they were hoping that the police were there? Why haven't they arrested those individuals? That was the insurrection. That was an offense. That was an attack on the government. Why haven't they been arrested? What happened on January 6th, as far as I'm concerned, was a flawed frat boy ploy that failed. But the spring and summer of 2020, there was violence in the land. There was violence in the country. Two wrongs don't make a right. People died. People's lives were destroyed. Businesses were destroyed. You look at California now, Walgreens and Target, they're closing their doors early now. Why? Because of the crime. And these are in Black communities. Who's going to suffer? Black people. Why? Because other Black people don't care about Black Lives Matter. So now you have these stores that serve the community that will be closing their doors early. First is to close early. The next thing, they will pull out because it's not worth it. There's no profit there for them. And then what will Maxine, also known as Kerosene Maxine, say? Oh, they're discriminating against Black people. Well, no, you caused the problem. You and Cori Bush and Joy Reid and Don Lemon. Why would you want to stay in an area and do business where they're going to burn down your business? It makes no sense. These are the same people, time after time after time, talk about systemic racism when they are the racist. You're the racist. You're the ones who created Jim Crow laws.
And they're so concerned about January 6th, and that's all their focus goes to. But like Rob and I were just mentioning, that the crime last summer was off the charts, and it's continued into this summer. What's going to happen the next time a Black person gets killed by a police officer? Have they done anything to stop this, where Louis Vuitton and Rolex and all these places are not going to be robbed by a mob of thugs? Have the Democrats done anything to make sure that that doesn't happen again? Because they don't seem concerned about that at all, or the small businesses that get destroyed in this rioting and looting. It's just that they've got no solutions to what are clearly real problems, and all they are focused on is January 6th. And you know why? Because January 6th directly affected them. They were involved in January 6th because they were at the Capitol, so they can relate to it. They can't relate to these small businesses being robbed. They can't relate to Louis Vuitton getting robbed and losing $100,000 purses and all these other ridiculous things that were stolen. The Democrats only care about January 6th because it's a way to make President Trump look bad, and it's a way to flip the script away from the rioting and looting that we seen last summer.
Absolutely. They're only concerned about January 6th because they know that this, in their mind, this is a way to stop Trump. They want to be able to stop him. They don't want him to run in 2024. They're afraid that he will run again. Because if they were really concerned about it, they would release the name of the person who shot Ashley Babbitt. Who shot Ashley Babbitt? Even Vladimir Putin wants to know who shot Ashley Babbitt. The Chinese wants to know who shot Ashley Babbitt. Everyone wants to know who shot Ashley Babbitt except for the Democrats, because they know who shot Ashley Babbitt. I know who shot Ashley Babbitt. I have the name of the person. I've done my research. I'm not going to reveal his name. But we all know who shot Ashley Babbitt, and the person was Black. He shot an unarmed white woman. And what for? She was only crawling through a window. She didn't have any weapons. isn't that the cry that we talk about all the time about black men? That they didn't have a weapon and the police shot them? So what about her? Doesn't her life count? Just a week ago, there was another instance in the news, I think in Arkansas, whereby a white police officer shot a white kid. There were no rioting. No one was out in the streets rioting. There was another instance whereby a white police officer, and I think it's in Rhode Island, fired at 3 unarmed kids. They were all white. There's no rioting taking place. Where is the justice? Where is the concern? But yet and still we have systemic racism. This is a bunch of nonsense, if you ask me. It's just a way to keep people divided. Let's look at the voting rights. Maxine said, states that are passing restrictive laws. Okay, New York City has one of those. New York State has the same voting rights, or not voting right, but the voting plan. You're not protesting New York City, and it's Democrat. So why are you protesting Georgia, Colorado, restrictive election laws? You're not protesting Colorado.
Do you guys have a mayor yet? I mean, that's been taking so long. I've kind of lost track of what's going on there in New York City.
Well, that's a joke, because Eric Adams, they thought he was going to win, but now that they have this rate your candidate type of voting effort, it seems that his lead could be fading away. And what has he done? He's now looking at suing the election committee, but if a Republican were to do that, he's un-American. He's challenging the vote, but they can do it all day long. They created the stupid process of rating the candidates, and now that it's not working for them, now they want to sue. Eric, you were all for it initially, but now that you see that it's flawed and that there's a possibility you may not win, I want to sue. Only in the world of a liberal. This is what you get. This is a chaos, and then they want to take it to the federal level. They want to control it there. You can barely control the state level. You can't control the elections there. Why would we want to move it up to the federal?
Right. I had to double check this to make sure that this wasn't a joke. In New York City, you literally had to rank your candidates on the ballot, correct? Or
Yep.
whatever candidates that you liked, you listed them in order was the idea, and then they take whoever has the most first, second place voting or whatever, and select them. So when you voted in New York City, did you go and make a list of candidates? I mean, this is a joke. They wonder why they can't get anything figured out. I mean, who came up with this idea? Is this part of this participation trophy generation where everyone can say, oh, I was ranked on 50,000 people's list or some crap at number 5? I mean, this is ridiculous.
I voted for Fernando Mateo, whom I thought would have made a better candidate. He didn't win. And then when it came to rankings, I put my name down. I put my own name, Rob Harper. So I'm like, maybe someone will put my name down also. What do I have to lose? Democrats are horrible when it comes to running states. So how do they think they can run an election? And now they're all mad, up in arms. And they even said that we won't know who the winner of this election is for quite some time. Now, mind you, while they're doing all this craziness, whenever they decide whoever they're going to award, because they don't like Eric Adams, because he's for the police. Now, the other, Maya Riley, she wants it, and she's against the police, but mind you, she has private security guards that are protecting her. But she doesn't want the police to protect you. And then the other young lady, Rodriguez, they're saying that she could possibly, win this and make it an upset. But again, Democrats are horrible at running anything. But be that as it may, while they're doing all this craziness, we only have one Republican, Curtis Sliwa, whom we've invited to come on the show to talk to us. We're still waiting. Curtis, if you're watching this, if someone knows him, please tell him we would like for him to come on the show. While all of this is going on, I seriously doubt the Republicans have their act together. And then they will blow this election, as they always do. With all the turmoil that the Democrats are going through, this is a perfect opportunity for the Republicans to galvanize themselves and say, no, we're going to pull this off. But, they won't. They'll sit there and watch the Democrats, knowing that in the end, they'll pull a name out of the hat and say, okay, this person will run for us. They'll make some backroom deals and say, okay, let's give it to this person. Meanwhile, the city is suffering. Brooklyn, the Bronx, and these are all in predominantly Black neighborhoods. Now, that being said, there are some cases here in Manhattan whereby there's crime. It shouldn't be that way. When Rudy Giuliani was the mayor, things were safe, and man, we were marching all the way to Zion. But now, it's like we're going to hell in a handbasket. And it's really sad, Andrew. It's really sad that this is happening.
Yeah, it really is. And then let's look at this California governor race. Apparently, it's heating up. September is when the election is. From what I'm seeing, it looks like they're probably going to end up with Gavin Newsom once again, because the Republicans just are not mobilizing a combined effort here. We've got John Cox, who lost to Gavin Newsom last time around decisively, and he's currently up towards the top of the polls. And then they had the guy that was mayor of San Diego, I believe. He's also at the top of the polls. And then you've got Caitlyn Jenner, who's towards the top. It's just like nobody knows who the conservative candidate that everyone should get behind and back is quite there yet in California. If you keep an eye on our America Out Loud show, we hope to have Diego Martinez on sometime in the next couple of weeks, so you guys can get a feel for him. I think that he's spot on policy and would be a great selection, but unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be a money game there in California, just like we see all over the country.
Absolutely. And I don't know why people think that Caitlyn Jenner is a person that could save us. I mean, I question her loyalties. I don't know if she's a true conservative. I think she's a country club conservative. But of course, people will vote for her and they'll say, and again, nothing against her. They'll say, well, she's a transgender, so we need to put her on the ticket. But if she's not down with the cause, if she does not share the platform of the party, then we don't need her. And I would think that Ronna McDaniel would have already tried to put together a coalition or group of people that could possibly run and win. I mean, we had a candidate on not too long ago, Rhonda, and she was saying that she felt that Republicans need to come together in order to win the election, and that we didn't need all these different people, like a bazillion people out there that are running. Yeah, Rhonda Baldwin Kennedy. And I agree with her. We need to pick one candidate and just say, this is a candidate, we're going to run that person. And you look around us at all these different states where we have elections that are coming up. And I wonder if the GOP is supporting these candidates. Because there are too many that are out there that we don't hear about. I mean, I see Laverne Spicer out there quite a bit. But is the GOP behind her? Are they supporting her candidacy? Are they going to say, hey, this is a candidate that we want? Frederica Wilson is a weak candidate. And there's no reason why she should win over Laverne Spicer, who has her pulse on the finger, has her finger on the pulse of her district. So it just begs the question, what is the GOP doing? I just don't think that we can get it together. You look up and down the border in Texas and the candidates that have come on. And they've said that, hey, we could flip this red if the GOP supported us. Why aren't they supporting these candidates? The people at the border are tired or sick and tired of all of this border crossing illegal activity. They want change, but they can't get the change if people don't go out there and support the candidates. Look at Beto O'Rourke. He'll probably run for office again. He has name recognition, and he'll probably come close. Why can't we say the same thing about our candidates? I mean, Andrew, we've had so many people on our podcast, America Out Loud, that airs on iHeartRadio, coming on here talking about them running for office. And I just wondered, are they getting the traction? We know that the media is not going to give them the attention that they deserve. And as I have said before, stop going on CNN and MSNBC, stop talking to the Washington Post, stop talking to the New York Times, because whenever you talk about them, you're thinking that you're putting your name out there, but they're twisting your words around to make you look bad. You got to stop it, and you got to start supporting these independent conservative stations that are out there trying to put your message out there. Now, some would say, yeah, but you're preaching to the choir then because only conservatives are listening to it. Yeah, but when you go to CNN, who's listening to it there? They're twisting your words. They're making you look like you're a bad person. We could win this thing. We should have won it in 2020, but the Democrats cheated. They're going to cheat again. Don't come to me saying, oh, how can you prove it? Okay, I would even prove it by saying, listen to what Fox is saying or Newsmax. I would just say, read the New York Time magazine article, and they professed to it. Common sense. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. And as bad as things are there in California and New York, I think they might even be worse here in Illinois as far as the governor race is concerned. I mean, we're stuck with Fat Pants, J.B. Pritzker, who's just done an absolutely terrible job in our state. Prices have went up. Property taxes have went up. Gas prices have went up. Everything's went up under J.B. Pritzker. He shut down the economy for over a year. It was a total disaster. And now you look at the 2022 national election, and I just read an article earlier that Adam Kinzinger is thinking about throwing his hat in the race for being the Republican candidate for governor of Illinois. So could you imagine having that option? You got to vote for either Fat Pants, J.B. Pritzker, or the Rhino turncoat, Adam Kinzinger. I mean, I really hope this guy doesn't make it onto the ballot and that he would just go away.
I can't believe that he's still in office. I never trusted the guy. I always felt that he was questionable. I don't think that his party loyalties lied in the right place. Look at Liz Cheney. She's agreed to serve on Nancy Pelosi's commission on looking into January 6th. And Kevin McCarthy had come out and he had said, made a threat that anyone serving on that committee, they would probably lose their House positions or whatever committees. And it's yet to happen. She still has her committee. Why does she still have her committee? Why hasn't she been removed? She is a rhino. She does not like Republicans. She will do everything she can to defeat Republicans in 2022 and 2024. Why hasn't he removed her from her committees? They removed Marjorie Taylor Greene after Nancy Pelosi kicked up a big stink. But no one has said anything about Ilhan Omar. They've made threats, but she's still there. Why hasn't she been removed? Why hasn't Eric Swalwell been removed? Why haven't any of these individuals been removed? Why aren't Republicans giving them grief? We sit there and we roll over consistently, giving up too much ground. I don't like Ilhan Omar. I think she's a Trojan horse. I think that she's a radical. She's a terrorist. She does not like the country. Prove me wrong, please. Show me where I'm wrong.
Or Jews.
Or Jews. Look at all the anti-Semitic comments she's been making. And she doubled downs on it. And the media just walks away because AOC plus 3, they're afraid of her. And who is she, by the way?
Someone that had sex with her brother.
Yeah, but AOC, who is AOC? Who is she besides an empty suit? Claiming that President Trump did do something for her grandma, and then we had a conservative to raise money for the grandma in Puerto Rico to fix her house, she turned it down. But they're afraid of her. Chuck Schumer, he's afraid that she might primary him. I don't like her. She's an empty suit. She should not be there. But according to the Constitution, she can. And just speaking of the Constitution, I want to segue to this kind of little pop culture. A lot of people are upset and mad about Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby got out, and they're mad about it. And some are even saying it was a technicality. Hell no, it wasn't a technicality. It's according to the Constitution. Okay, double jeopardy. The prosecuting attorney messed up big time because the original attorney said, if you testify before a civil case, we will not prosecute you on a criminal case. But some will say, oh, well, it wasn't written down. It didn't have to be written down. The prosecutor came out, Bill Castor, I think, came out and said, yes, I agreed. I made that agreement with him. And when I looked at the case, I said, there's nothing to try here. I am not saying that what Bill Cosby did was right. I'm not saying that he's innocent. But according to our laws, double jeopardy, the right against self-incrimination, what the judge and the new prosecutor did was malfeasance. You should be mad at them. You should be mad at the judge and the prosecutor, the second prosecutor. Because when they saw that they were going to lose the case, he went to the judge, and what did the judge do? The judge allowed testimony from like years ago to be admitted. You prejudiced the jury. You can't listen to their stuff. And he let them in and said, okay, we're going to let them in, but we're not going to convict him based upon this. We just want you to hear their testimony. Okay, and it was wrong. And this is what I have to say to Black people who are up in arms and are mad at Phylicia Rashad, who came out and said something about, justice working. They're mad at her, these woke people. They're mad at her, and they're saying, oh, how dare she? She should lose her position at Howard University, a historical Black college. Now, hold on tight, because I'm going to get deep with this. Phylicia Rashad, who was just giving this position, a historical Black college, historical Black colleges that Barack Obama said, maybe they should combine, historical Black colleges that Barack Obama did not want to keep funding, historical Black colleges whom President Trump wrote the check out for and said, hey, here's your money, don't come back. A historical Black college whose students and personnel are now attacking a Black woman for having an opinion. A historical Black college that Bill Cosby has more than likely donated thousands of dollars. Aren't they supposed to be for the law? Where's Kamala Harris, who graduated from the historical Black college? Why isn't she throwing her support behind Phylicia Rashad? Where's Oprah Winfrey, a billionaire Black woman? Why isn't she saying, folks, wait a minute, she's entitled to her opinion. She's not saying that Bill Cosby is not guilty. She's just saying that the criminal justice system has worked. The same criminal justice system that Black folks lament about and say is not fair. The same criminal justice system that Black folks are consistently saying, you let them submit evidence that wasn't supposed to be submitted. You allowed them to submit testimony that wasn't supposed to be submitted or allowed to be testified. What happened? What happened to your jurisprudence now when it comes to Bill Cosby? I'll tell you what happened. You have allowed white liberals to cloud your judgment, because the same thing that happened to Bill Cosby is what has happened to many of your Black brothers and uncles, Black neighbors and sons. It just so happened that Bill Cosby was able to get off. Some will say, oh, well, he had good lawyers. He was able to pay them. Okay, perhaps, but it shouldn't be that way. The law should be the law. We're all protected under the law. And justice should be blind. So when I see you all attacking Bill Cosby, I say, imagine if that was your brother, your father, your husband, or your son, that they were trying to railroad and allow information to be submitted that shouldn't have been. I say justice served. Not saying that what he did was right, but under the law, which has nothing to do with a technicality for all those legal scholars that know the difference but are confusing people, read the law. Better yet, read the Constitution. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Rob. And Bill Cosby is such an interesting case. I believe he was like one of the very first victims of this Me Too culture. When all his victims were coming out, it was right around the time that the Me Too era was kicking up and getting into gear. And I'd never really known what to think of this whole Bill Cosby thing. Of course, I jumped on when everybody else did, and it seemed like it was foregone conclusion that he was guilty of all these terrible things that they're accusing him of. But then when you see this Me Too movement play out more and more, you do see the amount of women that are willing to come out and lie for publicity, fame, whatever their reasoning might be. It happens all the time. But there's so many women that have came out against Bill Cosby. I believe he would be the biggest mass rapist in American history if he was actually guilty of all the rapes that he's been accused of. So it's very hard to go against that many people, I would say. But
no, I
just
agree. It's hard to go against that many people. And like I said, I'm not saying that what they said was wrong, but to sit and wait on it. And here's another thing, just in my humble opinion. Okay. If a married man or a married woman is inviting me to their place at 1 a.m. in the morning to run lines, let me just tell you this. That's nothing but a booty call. Okay. Let's just be honest. That is nothing but a booty call. Okay,
right.
let's stop trying to sugarcoat it. He's a married man, and he's inviting you back to his place, and you're saying, "Oh well, I thought he was going to jumpstart my career." Jumpstart your career in his bed? Come on, we got to wake up. We got to stop pretending as if though we're so innocent and we're so blind. And I say the same thing about Monica Lewinsky. Monica Lewinsky was 21 or 22 years old when she gave Bill Clinton a blowjob. I don't want to hear anything about her being a kid. Okay, 21 and 22-year-olds can be very manipulative, and they can be seductress. Now, of course, he was a person, he was she was his subordinate. He was a president, but still, I made it just as much as he did. So serves her right. I don't feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for her at all. I mean, people got to wake up and stop trying to be these little innocent victims. I want to be innocent on this, but when it comes to something else, I want to be an adult. I want to say that, oh no, treat me like an adult. Just like the voting rights. Of voting as a whole, with Kamala Harris saying, well, maybe we should let 16-year-olds vote. And then another conversation, she was saying, oh my God, think about it. 16-year-olds, where was your mind when you were 16 years old? Exactly. So why do you want to change it? It's a bunch of hogwash that the Democrats are pushing, and Republicans have got to push back. If you want, not even Republicans, but if you want to save the country from this turmoil, you need to wake up and push back. Take President Trump out of the equation. And if you notice, he's the only person that the Democrats keep talking about because they know that when they mention him, people get all riled up and angry. Remove him from the equation and just look at the policies and the principles and the country as a whole to save the country, because that's what it's about. Every time I think of Joe Biden, I get all riled up. I'm like, the guy's clueless. He's senile. Kamala Harris, she got to where she is. Let's just be honest. And I'm going to say it because she was on her back. Let's be honest. And you know what, Andrew? I find it interesting that when it's a man, they'll talk about the man having multiple sex partners. Look at Donald Trump. Oh, he slept with this person. He slept with that person. He this and he that. But when it's a woman, it's like, well, no, we want to protect her virtue. Hell no. If she got to where she is sleeping on her back, not that there's anything wrong with it, then we should know about it, and we're going to talk about it. This is 2021. This is not the prudish 60s when people didn't talk about it. Look at Madonna. She's out having sex with everybody. And that's all the Democrats talk about anyway, being, sexual fluid. It's a bunch of bull S. Okay, right. It's bull.
Yeah. Yeah, and back to this Bill Cosby thing a little bit. Like you were saying, how many of these women knew what they were getting into before they got into it? I mean, I'm willing to believe that Bill Cosby might be a perverted, dirty old man, but to say that he's the biggest mass rapist in American history might be a little bit of a stretch. Like, you remember when we had Cynthia Garrett on our show, she talked about how she has been in Hollywood for a majority of her career, and she's been propositioned by a lot of these guys. And like she said, it's a choice. You don't have to go to these guys' house, and there's a good chance they're going to try and sleep with you. You know exactly what they're doing when they invite you over to their place. It's just a choice in Hollywood, and so many that we see in Hollywood are like Kamala Harris, where they've just slept their way to the top. It happens all the time in the industry. Right. Yeah, I mean, if that's the choice you make, that's the choice you make. But then to turn around and try and say that Bill Cosby took advantage of you, or whatever the case may be, when you knew full well what was probably going to happen when he went over to his house at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, I just got no sympathy for you.
Right. 2 a.m. in the morning, the Friday night, it was a booty call. And then, and he told some of them, they were tense. One girl said, well, I was tense. I was nervous. And he said, well, take this. This will help you relax. Okay. Didn't your mom tell you about taking things from strangers? What did you think he was going to give you? A lifesaver? Like, come on. Take this. It'll help you relax. Even if it was an Advil or an Excedrin PM. It's going to calm you down. So what did you think you were taking? I mean, I'm not blaming these women. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming these women. But I am saying that we have to use better judgment, because there are women that are out there that are raped. You look at Tara Reid. You look at what Joe Biden did to her on the Hill. His bare hands up her skirt, inside of her. I know this is kind of X-rated, but you got to think about this. She didn't ask for that. She didn't know what was going to happen. And what was his response? Oh, you know you want it. Come on, man. That was wrong. And no one is saying anything about it. It's just like, look over at Hunter Biden and what was on his computer. Him in a, oh gosh, I can never get that out of my mind. Him in a jockstrap, butt ass naked, posing. I mean, are you serious? Sleeping with a bong hanging out of his mouth. I don't know what else he was putting in his mouth.
A crack pipe.
Crack pipe. Okay, but come on. I mean, but a grown man posing on a jockstrap. What he thought, was it Playgirl? I mean, I don't get it. But no one says anything about it. And now we're finding out that Joe Biden did, in fact, meet with some of these millionaires and billionaires, this slim guy from Mexico, with some type of business deal. But he claims, I know nothing about it. Yeah, I know you have senility, but the picture says it all, and the laptop says it all. But yet you're going to go after Rudy Giuliani. And I just want to address one other thing. This whole thing with trying to take down President Trump's bookkeeper.
Ridiculous.
Okay. Let's just think about this now. Okay. Usually, situations like that, it is a civil fine. And you go and you say, okay, we'll pay a fine and we move on. But to say this is launch a criminal charges, and you're going to bring the guy in with handcuffs. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden is doing everything under the sun, saying the N-word, going after his niece. He had a gun, and he's a convicted felony for having cocaine. He has a gun, folks, a gun. And I keep saying gun because guns is like kryptonite to the Democrats. They want to take your guns away. But he had a gun, and they're saying absolutely nothing about it. But you're going to take Trump's bookkeeper and put him in handcuffs and do a perp walk with Letitia James, New York Attorney General, walking behind it. The same Letitia James who said that she's going to go after Trump. And you want to tell me this isn't politically motivated? Andrew, when does it end? When does it stop? Someone has got to come out and say this is wrong. No, Bill Barr can't do it. Bill Barr is compromised. Bill Barr is afraid. Someone has gotten to Bill Barr. I think Antifa or Black Lives Matter has threatened Bill Barr because he's coming out talking out of his butt. But are you serious? Who is going to stand up and say this has to stop? Barack Obama can't do it because he's just as corrupt. He hates the country. He always did. 8 years he was in the White House, 2 black attorney generals, and he did nothing for black people. Now he wants to attack Trump because Trump did something for black people. He did that and then some. I got the most black voters than anyone. And no, I'm not saying African American. Please throw that in the garbage. I'm black. Okay, let's just be honest. I don't walk around saying European Americans. Andrew, I'm not calling you a European American. Your ancestors from the continent Europe. But I'm not saying that about you. Don't call me African American. Call me black. And I'm proud of it. And no, you don't have to capitalize the word B. You don't capitalize the letter W. This is a bunch of stupid liberal rhetoric that we've got to stop because it makes no sense. We're losing ourselves because of these liberals. It has to stop.
Yeah, and something else we'd want to talk about, since we're talking about the entertainment industry, is the entire diversity thing, which is just making Hollywood and entertainment really at each other's throats, finally, it sounds like. Reporter Rachel Nichols, who is a regular at the NBA desk for ESPN and ABC, she works all the shows at the desk with Jalen Rose and Jay Williams as part of the NBA crew. Well, apparently for the NBA Finals, they've told her that she needs to go to the sidelines and that her replacement is going to be a black woman at the desk. And Rachel has been downgraded. Of course, she did not say anything about this publicly, but there was a leaked phone call that came out over the weekend of Rachel saying that this was a diversity decision, that the reason that this woman is taking her spot is because she is Black. And now you've got a lot of these other ESPN anchors after hearing this phone call who are saying that this is a bad work environment in ESPN. It's part of the culture of white people that just pretend to be supportive of their Black coworkers when they really say things differently behind their backs. It's just a huge mess. And I'm not so sure about if Rachel Nichols was kicked off because of the diversity hire. I don't think she's that good at her job anyways, but she did already have the job, so there is something to say for that. But yeah, it's just a complete disaster, these diversity qualifications that you have to have. It just really sets people and puts people against each other instead of just picking who's best for the job when you would never have these arguments.
Well, here's my take on it. I don't know her. I've seen her. I don't know how good she is, but I could see her thinking that this was a diversity, that they're pushing her out because of all this wokeness that are taking place, and everyone wants to be perceived as listening and they're being fair. But here's the thing, and we just got to accept this. In order to be equal in society and fair, there's going to be a degree of diversity hiring taking place. If a person were to come in and walk through that door and says, I want to be hired, Black or white, the first thing and they're all liberal companies, corporations, the first thing they're going to do is say, ooh, the white person is good, but this is a Black woman. And we got to bring her in because if we don't, it won't look good. Okay, now what is a white woman going to think? Because she's just as good. And it just happens over and over again. You go in, I go in, I'm a Black guy. Andrew, you go in. I say, okay, do we hire Rob or Andrew? Well, let's toss a coin. That's one way of doing it. Because if we're both equal and we're both good, how do you make that decision? Because if you hire me and just say, well, I'm going to hire him because he's Black, then what about you? Your family needs to be paid also. You're trying to take care of your family just like I'm trying to take care of mine. So we just got to accept this is it's ugly. No matter how you put it, people are going to look at the color and they're going to say, do I hire this person or do I not hire that person? Do I hire the Indian or do I hire the white man? Do I hire the Black man or do I hire the white man? Do I hire the Black woman or do I hire the white man? That's where society is. So we just got to face it. I mean, I don't like it. I don't know how we can get around it, but hey, it's a cruel, ugly fact, and we've got to accept it and move on. But I think what happened to her, for her to have those thoughts, hey, I can't blame her because I would think the same thing. If I didn't get the job, if they sideline me, I would say, hey, they sidelined me for the Black woman. They don't want a Black man there. I would probably think the same thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because from what I've always seen of her, she's always pushing the Black Lives Matter narrative and things like that. She seems to be very liberal, but then when she finds herself in a position to where things are working against her, all of a sudden her conduct and statements towards the Black community are completely different. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, let me just say this, as I have always said, it is always the liberals. They're always putting themselves out there thinking that they're down for the cause. But then when it hits them in the face, that's when you see the real them, their true selves. Because now they see that, hey, this is a real deal. I was down with the cause. I thought I was like, oh, yeah, but now it's hitting me. Wake up, folks. This is where we are in society, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly right. And thank you all who tuned in to this afternoon edition of After Dark with Rob and Andrew. We will be back on iHeartRadio at 9 o'clock Eastern Time tonight. We're going to be replaying our interview with Joe Kent, who I think is one of the best candidates running in the next election cycle. And I think he has a real shot of winning. He needs to beat this rhino, Jamie Butler. I mean, this guy is just head and shoulders above her in every single category. Could not be more impressed with Joe Kent. I hope you guys check that out again tonight on iHeartRadio. And tomorrow night we have officer and congressional candidate Keith Swank on which is going to be another great show. This guy is a Seattle police officer, so he certainly has a lot to talk about, and he's also going to talk about his run for Congress. We love to see police officers getting involved, and more pro-police candidates in can only be a good thing. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you guys later tonight on iHeartRadio, and stay tuned for our YouTube channel because we will be checking in at least every couple of weeks to say hello to you guys. Thank you.